Grab your coffee and join me, Nicoa, for a caffeinated conversation about life. I'll be talking to people who have chosen to walk their own paths and, just like me, are creating a life by design. I hope it will give you the inspiration you need to do exactly the same. Okay, Hannah, guess what? The other night, I was thinking about our interview, and I woke up going, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. And I was like, oh God, she's going to think I'm crazy. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about sex, love by design, life by design, lust by design. This is kind of my theme. Yeah. And you are the libido fairy godmother out there, sprinkling sexy dust all over everybody. Thank you for saying yes to coming and talking with me, Coffee with Nicoa.
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure. It's a joy. I only do things that bring me pleasure and joy. That's not true. I do plenty of things that don't, but I only really say yes to things that feel like they spark that in me. And you have a radiant energy that I was like, yep, that feels like a yes in my body. And I'm excited to be here and chat with you today.
Well, I think learning how to get that yes in our bodies is probably kind of the foundation of what we're talking about today. So yes, I'm honored. Thank you. I do exude some energy, but so do you. And the way I found you was on Instagram. And I was watching all of your posts about how to really increase, self-love, self-pleasure. And I'm going to do your little bio here. So everybody listening, everybody heads up. If this is making you uncomfortable already, I'll need to just, tune out. Go ahead and skip to all the other amazing episodes.
No. If this makes you uncomfortable, you probably should keep listening.
Absolutely. You're so right. You are so right. I'm trying to give them an out. No, stay listening. Okay. Hannah Deindorfer. Although I really did want to say Deindorfer. You know why? Have you ever read the Dr. Seuss book, Diffendorfer School?
Yes.
That's what I thought of right there. Okay. Everybody's going to look that up now. All right. Hannah, you are the libido fairy for women. You use somatic therapy, sexuality, pleasure, sensuality, all sorts of tools for creating deeper intimacy with self and relationships. You live in Austin, Texas with your dog and your partner. You've been a coach for the last 6 years. You're certified in all the things, right? Trauma therapy, somatic therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, CBT, and you've mentored with world-renowned sexuality coaches and therapists, which I think is really cool. And then you threw in this thing about being an Olympic weightlifter. So that's random. I love that. Now, there is that lady out there that does the vagina weight lifting. Is this the weightlifting championship you're referring to? Or no?
It's not. No, it's not that. Not that.
Okay. Well, you can share more.
Not.
And you're also a creator. And I did not realize that when I invited you. I found your Instagram account today with your artwork. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Is that mainly watercolors that you use, or?
I do now. I mostly work with watercolor, but when I started, I was doing a lot of acrylic and a lot of computer based graphic art. So yeah, now I'm working with watercolor and collage as my two mixed media.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I'm sure that had a lot to do with your life transformation, leveraging your creativity and finding that art. Here's my favorite summary, though, of who you are from your own website at HannahDeindorfer.com. Hannah is a freaking powerhouse at helping low libido women create turn-on pleasure, self-love, and freedom to have the sex lives of their dreams. And so, yeah, I'm a little interested in that. So let's go for it. Let's talk about how you got here. And probably you are accustomed to sharing kind of your foundational stories. So I'll just let you take the mic.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's so funny hearing my website copy read back to me. I don't think anyone's ever done that to me before. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my story is filled with a lot of challenge. Like, I like to use this. I was telling a client this the other day, this little story metaphor that I've created in my world, that it feels like an angel or a future version of me dropped down to my 11-year-old self that was like playing on the playground and was like, hey, so I got an opportunity for you. I got a choice for you. You can, if you want, just keep living a nice chill life. Things will be like sometimes hard, sometimes easy, but pretty medium boring. Or you can sign up for the next 10 years to be some of the most challenging moments of human existence that could possibly happen. You're going to be taken advantage of and abused and hurt in so many ways that you are going to not want to live anymore. And you're, in fact, going to try to not live anymore. But if you do, if you make it through, then you get to have the most amazing life. You will get to feel everything so deeply. You will get to experience the height and peak of joy, and you will get to help a ton of people. Do you want to do that? And like little 11-year-old me was like, let's fucking go. Yeah. I'm here.
Let's do it. That's like the soul contract agreement that we come down here on this planet. I really believe that. And a lot of people have a hard time believing that, right? So they're like, what do you mean you signed up to be abused or hurt? And I'm like, guess what? Source, whatever you want to call it, wants all the feels. And I've actually, talking about sex, I actually used with my clients the analogy. I was like, listen, if you believe in this energetic source is, you are the extension for all the feeling, and source wants to feel everything from murder to orgasm. And that's
Have you read Existential Kink?
I have read Existential Kink, and I recommend it all the time.
Yes, if you're listening and you have not read that book, Existential Kink is a way, like, it is so underlining a lot of my core philosophy and the way that I approach life, is that like all of this is available for us to enjoy, even the parts that feel disgusting and terrible. Like, there is pleasure that we can gain from those experiences if we can see where we are having a hand in creating that and taking the power back. So Existential Kink is amazing for that book. It might be also very triggering if you are often in a victim mentality.
For sure. Yeah. But it's just about the energy of what you're creating and you're attracting into your world, your experiences. There's a part of you that is likely, if you continue to have experience after experience, you're likely getting off on it in some way, or your energy would shift for you to stop having that experience. So yes, so do tell. Do tell.
Okay, so more. So kind of like what I said, I went through a lot of pain. I went through a lot of abuse. I have a bipolar father who I ended up being in a caretaking position for when I was 12 years old. And then, lots of kind of traumatic relationship things, non-consensual sexual experiences. I developed a really severe eating disorder and was then abusing myself for a while, and then tried to commit suicide when I was 20 years old. And best mistake of my life that didn't work. Let's go, me. But it wasn't like I came out of that experience being like, oh, yes, I'm so grateful for life. Now I'm going to make the best of it. It was like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, I probably can't do that again. So I need to find a way to make this bearable so that I don't feel like I have to do that again. And that took me
tough. I mean, wow. I mean, but I'm so glad you're here. I can tell.
Me too.
You came through to the other side, and
I really did.
You did. And you're having so much fun. I mean, how did you get the support and resources? Did you have other family members there to help guide you, or who were those influencing supporters?
I was very alone at that point in my life, which I think, is pretty typical for someone who is in that place, like they feel very alone. Maybe they have support, but what the feeling is that nobody supports me or cares about me, or I'm on my own, or I have to do this all myself, or I have to figure this out myself. And that burden is overwhelming. And so I started going to therapy shortly after that experience, to have someone to talk to about that, because I didn't feel like there was anyone in my experience who I could talk to about that. And God bless my first therapist. Shout out to Mary Beth Atwell. She is amazing. I love her. She changed my life. One of the pivotal moments in my therapy work with her was she showed me this video of a brain making a new neural connection. So the way that our thoughts work is you could see it on a brain scan, the thoughts running. And a lot of times we'll have these patterns of thought where the brain will fire and fire and fire and fire in this consistent pattern over and over. And we'll experience that as a looping thought. So a looping thought might sound like, oh, I'm worthless, or, oh, I am a failure, or I can't do anything right. And that loops and loops, and it reinforces that neural connection in our brain. But she showed me this video of a brain making a new neural connection and told me this person did this on purpose. And actually, because they practiced this new thought over and over and over, the old thought forms disappeared from the brain. They actually stopped happening. And then I was like, oh shit, like I actually do have to take responsibility for myself here.
Right.
Like I can't just say, oh, it's just the way that my brain works, or like that's just how my thoughts are, and so I'm helpless to those things. Actually, it just didn't give me any more outs. Like I actually had to like show the fuck up and be like, well, if I really, now I have no excuse. I can control this.
That's right. I love that. I always talk about responsibility, ability to respond, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I first analyzed that word, I was like, I'm the common denominator. I got to show up or shut up. So you started showing up for yourself.
I did. Yes, I did big time. And I went to therapy. I did all different types of therapy for like 8 years. Got a lot better. There was a lot that improved in my life. Started my own business, entered entrepreneurship, was a coach in more general life coaching stuff and coaching some business stuff. And then there was a point where I was like, there's something still not right here. Like I've done all this mental work and I've done all the affirmations and all the journaling and all the therapy and blah, 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 all the things. But there's something that doesn't feel right with my life. Like I still feel disconnected from myself. I still don't have a sex drive. I still am in these relationship patterns where I'm swinging this pendulum back and forth between like bad guy and good guy and boring and unsafe. And like, why, like, I know what I'm doing, but I can't get myself to stop doing those things. Mm-hmm. And that was the point where I was like, I'm going to start looking at my body. I'm going to start trying to feel, like really going in and feeling, and started doing somatic work. I looked at my sexuality, started working on my sexuality. And that was like, okay, it changed my life. It changed everything about how much my soul could inhabit my body. Yes. That was the key. It was the key for me, which is why I teach it.
And the body is the sensory transmitter, right? So I really do think we're all here just having an experience to taste, touch. That's why we have come back to your senses, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did so part of the research and work you've been doing probably introduced you to somatic work, which is the body. Yeah, let's talk about how did you begin to move towards sexuality as something that you could help others with?
Guess what, y'all? I published a book. Your Life by Design, a Coffee with Nicoa self-care coaching journal, is now available on Amazon. This interactive journal begins and ends with powerful queries guiding you on a quest for the kind of life by design you don't need a vacation from. I've included an in-depth look at strategic self-care to empower you and hold you accountable to really getting to know your true self. It's time to prioritize you. Use the link in the show notes to buy yours today.
Yeah. So when I had that moment of like, something's not right, the places that I looked in were directly at my sexuality and directly at, it's like through somatic therapy. So I was doing somatic therapy to heal trauma that was stored in my body. And then I was also simultaneously exploring kink and BDSM and going to sex parties and living in New York for a month and playing in New York with all of the fun, sexy people there, and like really learning how to own my pleasure and do the things that made my body feel good. And so there was like a 2-year self exploration period where I'm just like, I'm just going to do every sex thing
That's
possible
awesome.
and explore all of that.
That must have felt so
And
liberating. Was it liberating
oh
or
my
scary
gosh,
or both? Were you scared at all?
it
Or?
was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. There was nothing I would change about that time of my
Awesome.
life. It was the best.
And you
Yeah.
were single at the time. I know you wrote a blog or something about at some point with your partner, you guys decided to open your relationship. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that was the point where I realized something wasn't right. Like that converged at the same exact time. So I was in that place where I had no libido, no desire. We were really struggling in our relationship just in sexuality. Like there was like, it seemed to be that that was the only issue in our relationship. Although I will say, if someone comes to me and they're like, the only issue in our relationship is sex, I'm like, no, it's not.
Right.
But that's fine. And so, yeah, so we were like, okay, well, maybe what we can do to spark desire is open up the relationship and try playing with other people. And that it was the thing that kicked open the door for me to realize that I needed to figure out actually what made me happy in sexuality, because I started playing with someone who was kinky. And I was like, whoa, okay, there's so much more here than what I thought there could be. And now I'm going to go figure out what sex means to me. And I ended that relationship and then went on that like 2-year exploration period with myself.
That's so exciting. Yeah. It makes me think of that show, the movie by Spike Lee called She's Gotta Have It. Have you ever seen it?
I've never seen that. No.
Oh, you're going to love it. And then they turned it into a series where she's this individual artist and she lives in New York, and she has different individuals in her life who help serve her needs in partnership in sexuality. It's like the buttoned up business guy and the skateboarder rapper kid. So it's a great way to explore what no one is talking about. Majority of my listeners are going to be like, what is happening here? So, which is great, because guess what, guys? You can't get this thing called life wrong. You just can't.
For sure. For sure.
So tell us more, Hannah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like where the story started, ends. Like that's how I got into working in sexuality, because I started exploring my own and realizing what a key, like what it really gave me, which wasn't just sex. It was my ability to use my voice, my ability to understand where my boundaries were, connection to my body, authentic expression, feeling confident in myself, like really being in who I am, feeling alive, and turn on energy is the same as alive energy. Sexuality and power go so hand in hand. And so it was for me like this puzzle piece clicking into place when I was like, oh, I have sexuality and I can own that for myself and I can know what that is for me. Everything else in my life just got so much better as a result of that, which is what my clients say all the time. All my clients are always like, you know, I came in here thinking that I was just going to have better sex with my husband, but I'm like making so much more money at work and I'm setting all these boundaries with my family and I have better relationships with my friends and I feel so confident in myself when I'm dressing myself in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, it's because sex is life.
Yes. And I think that that's it. Sexuality is it's like the root, literally the root chakra, right? The root of your being. And if you can't connect into your being, and this is all the self-love stuff, guys, this is strategic self-love. this is a major step in that. And I wouldn't say that I've quite completed that either. I'm looking at those courses of yours. But tell me this. How did you get to the state of, I mean, were you raised in a way, and I know it sounds like you had trauma at home, but were you in a cultural environment where talking about these types of things was easier? So I think of the phrase unapologetic joy, unapologetic voice around sex. You know, how did you get there? I'm from the South, you know, we're sweet down here. We're not supposed to talk. You're in Texas, you know, we're not supposed to talk about this stuff. So tell me about that.
Well, I definitely didn't grow up in a place where talking about sex was a thing. Like my mom caught me having sex one time and we never spoke about it.
Oh, gosh.
She turned around and left the room and we never had a conversation about it.
Oh,
and
Lord.
So like, yeah, there just wasn't open dialogue. And I think that is most people's experience that come into my world, is that they just either have very minimal education or no conversation about it. And what the lack of conversation says, and what they pick up from we don't talk about this, is that sex is dirty, shameful, and wrong, and something to be hidden and to not face or to not look at. Like there's something about it that needs to be behind closed doors, or shame. Yeah, there's shame that's applied to that.
It's shame. Yeah, and the best way to diffuse shame is, what's her face says, is to put it in front of you, put it on the table. Brene Brown, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your voice then now. How do you talk about it in your life? How are you intentional with your love by design, with your lust by design? How does that show up in your voice? How does that show up in your looking ahead in your lifestyle?
Yeah. I mean, so I am in a relationship now that is 99.9% monogamous. We do go to play parties sometimes, but emotionally and relationally, we're monogamous. And in my relationship, what we do, we have a lot of routines around intimacy. And that might sound like boring to some people, but to me, the structure creates a lot of safety. It also indicates to me and to my partner that sex is a priority to us, and we want to make it a priority in our relationship. And so how the intentionality shows up is every single week we have a relationship board meeting, relationship check-in, where we talk about what we're struggling with that week, anything that's unsaid between us that needs to be cleared or aired out from the week. We talk about what needs we have that aren't getting met, that we need supported either emotionally or physically or around the home. And then we talk about what are we going to do for sex this week? How are we going to create intentional intimacy with each other this week? Are we going to just do what we usually do, which is like we're on a pretty good, like if it's gone more than 2 days where you just have some kind of sexual interaction. It doesn't have to be penetration. It doesn't have to be what most people think of as sex. It can be, oh, we're going to take a shower together, or we're going to make out naked together, or we're going to or like he'll just use the vibrator on me or whatever. Like one of us gets an orgasm, maybe both, but we have a kind of like cadence in that, but we are always once a week at least checking in on are we still connected in this area of our life?
Yeah.
And then adjust accordingly.
Well, I think you're talking about communication, right? And you're setting aligned goals and a vision with each other about what you want your relationship to look and feel like. And there's, a lot of people haven't even gotten there. So I'm really glad you share that, because that type of cadence and intentionality is how a life by design, a love by design works. Talk to me, one of the things that I struggle with personally is this intimacy that is relational, like it's an emotional intimacy that outside of the physical intimacy. How do you talk about that or teach that? Because sometimes that's more of what I'm craving is the outside of the bedroom type of intimacy.
Totally. So there's a few ways that, like a few categories that can kind of fall into that can help, like, in knowing the categories can help you identify like which type you're needing or wanting. There's like a relational intimacy that comes from conversation. So intimate conversation. Let's talk about our day. Let's talk about how we're feeling. Let's have a conversation about what you need and what I need and what our dreams are and what our visions are for the future and what got stirred up for us. Like there's like an intimate conversation way to connect. There's recreational companionship. So like doing an activity together, going for a walk, going for a hike, playing a sport together, watching a movie together. Like there's like companionship type intimacy that can come from participating in an activity side by side. And then there is like a physical intimacy that's non-sexual. So like affection, cuddling, words of affirmation, gifts, reassurance, domestic support, things around the house, stuff like that. So, thinking about like which area, which category does the need fall into? There are so many ways that you can cultivate that intimacy outside of the bedroom that can feed into a sexual connection. And typically, most people fall into one directionality or the other. Either they get to emotion through sex, or they get to emotion first, and then the emotion then drives them into sex.
Right. And I think that those are beautiful examples. And sometimes we don't recognize it. We're looking for it to be a certain way based on societal or stories or TV, right? People or porn, they don't know what it's supposed to look like. And I think certain personality types, and this is going to transition us into that nervous system discussion, because some people are like, well, we do all those things, but that's not enough. That's not what I'm looking for. And I don't think they know what they're looking for. I think so. Maybe you could share a little bit about how do we help women in particular, maybe men too, right? Calm themselves enough to allow the intimacy and allow the sexuality to really be that emotional connection that they're craving.
Well, there's different routes for different nervous systems. If you're someone who typically is in like a functional freeze kind of shutdown state, a lot of slow moving energy, like it feels like your thoughts are like dragging through the mud, especially when it comes to intimacy, or you feel like you're just like shut down, cold, rigid, those types of things resonate with you, then you're going to need a really gentle nervous system wake up. Things like gently massaging your skin, or really nice slow walks, or rocking side to side, or just some really nice supportive deep breaths. Doing that with your partner or doing that with yourself can be super supportive to get your nervous system to feel more safe and more getting more energy into the system. If you're someone who is on the opposite side of that spectrum, who is running more anxious, running more high energy, you feel a little frantic, you feel like you can't slow down, you're just like go, 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 you're like a little bit addicted to stress and cortisol, you're like checking your phone at a stoplight because you can't just sit there and be at a stoplight, or you're watching Netflix at night and you're just constantly scrolling because you need more stimulation and you're kind of addicted to that cortisol, and feel like you can't slow down enough to be present during sex. Meet that energy where it is. Shake it off. Like literally physically shake your entire body. Go for a run. Like meet and work off some of that energy so that you can let yourself settle down. Sitting in place, staring at your phone is not the way to diffuse that anxious energy.
That's really
the
good.
Opposite.
It is the opposite. And people, they try to say, well, here's how I rest, or I can't rest, or they'll say, I can't meditate because my mind is racing. And they just aren't, because they haven't practiced those relaxation techniques. And I really wanted you to address, I liked it when you talked about that on your Instagram account. Everybody, please go check out her Instagram account. It's at LIBIDO FAIRY or at LIBIDO FAIRY, right? Is it the LIBIDO Fairy? Yeah.
There's a the.
There's a the. So everybody, you get so much information. As I was doing my homework today, there were so many topics that came up. But I want to come back to the voice in your head based on your life story and how you are existing in a way of being now. What would you say the biggest change has been since the way you were before you found your body and your soul again, and the way you are now?
Oh my gosh, the voice in my head is so loving and compassionate. It's so sweet to me. It used to be constantly criticizing, berating, telling me how terrible I am, telling me that I'm the worst human being, that I'm fat, ugly, whatever, all of the worst things that you could possibly say to someone. That's what it was doing in my head. That is why I tried to kill myself, because I was like, I cannot escape this constant barrage of like just the nastiest things.
Yeah.
And now like I'm literally like driving my car listening to love songs, singing them to myself, like telling myself constantly like, oh, you're doing such a good job, I'm so proud of you, I love you so much. Like there just is such and like when I make mistakes, it just is like there's nothing there. It's like, oh, okay, let's just fix it, let's just move on. Yeah, it just is so kind there now.
Was there any particular practice that you really point back to? So, you know what, when I started doing that, or when I really practiced that enough, because I hear you, I'm in the same shift as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm in love with myself as much as you're in love with yourself yet. I mean, and I use the word yet because I know I'm a work in progress, and you know, but I can tell you that in the last 2 years, I moved from lots of self-body shame and, you know, looking in the mirror and just, you know, just lots of self-judgment to, I don't even notice it anymore. To your point, there's nothing there. It's like, I got bigger and better things to be thinking about than whether or not my body's the right, quote unquote, you know, shape or size. So, you know, I think part of the practice for me was I did this strange practice. It wasn't strange. I had a practice where every morning, or if I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I would usually sleep in a t-shirt. I'd pull it up and I would look at my beautiful body and compliment it in the mirror. And then I'd go back to bed. Yes. I would look at my body and then compliment it, even when I didn't really feel it. And that like accumulated for me. And I'm curious, some of those experiences for you, what was it that started really making the difference for you?
Okay. This is going to be a little bit edgy because there was a pivotal moment. There was a pivotal moment for sure. And then, so I'll give a moment and then I'll give the practice that came as an integration. So the moment I was on mushrooms and I had taken a lot of mushrooms and I was lying down with my eyes covered. And I had this moment of being like, if you were here, like I was feeling restless. I was like laying there and I was like, oh, I should be doing something. I should like get up and do something. And I was like, if you were here with someone that you loved, I was alone. If you were here with someone that you loved, you would just be like all about them. You would want to know everything about them. You'd be there like gazing into their eyes, being like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. Like, tell me everything about you. You'd be so interested. Like, do that for yourself right now. Actually, like, be there with you. You're here. You're not alone here. You're with yourself here. So like, what would that be like? And then I was just laying there and I was like, oh, whoa, I can really feel how sweet my energy is. I can really feel how warm I am, how loving and accepting I am. Like if I turn the energy that I give to other people towards myself, it's so sweet and friendly and welcoming and non-judgmental and so fun and playful and kind. And like, I really cultivated that in that little experience with myself for a solid, 20 minutes of just really doing that with myself over and over and over. And then in the integration, the practice of that in real life for me was like, every time I felt something in my body feel bad, or there was a part of me that felt tense or tight or wrong, or like there was something wrong, like I started criticizing, I would go find wherever that was in my body, whatever part that was, and literally talk to it out loud. Like, okay, I see that you're feeling scared right now. That's fine. I'm here with you. It's okay to be scared. I know sometimes it feels like it's never going to end. I know sometimes it seems like nothing's working and you're so disconnected. I know it feels like you're helpless here. That's okay. You can feel that. It's okay. I'm here with you. like literally talking to my body and talking to the part of me that was feeling frustrated or angry or sad or scared or any of those feelings, and giving myself space to actually be in that feeling.
That's beautiful. I've done mushrooms before with a group of people in a safe space, and my one takeaway was that I was attached. I kept saying, my friend who facilitated the whole thing, my coach, she came to me and she would check in and she'd say, "How's it going?" I'm like, "I'm attached." I'm so attached. She's like, "Okay, are you good?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just so attached."
I love that.
It was really funny because I was so attached to the external expectations of life. And I still have lots of attachments. But the beauty of that was that I realized I can see it now. I can acknowledge it. And then I can let it go if I so choose, or at least I'm much more in tune with who I was at that point in time. So you're talking a little bit about what's also referred to as parts work, right? So if you talk to the part of you, the part of that younger self, the part of the body, even, I love that. Yeah. And it's very helpful. And it's kind of an expansion of some of the coaching work that I originally spent a lot of energy around, which was, mantras, like language, change your language. But you're talking about the emotion, right? And the body.
Yes, totally.
So there's a model I love, body, emotion, language, the Bell model. So the integration of that is tricky. How do you help your clients get out of their heads and into their bodies? Like you talked about, you had to do that, but was it, I saw you doing a lot of movement and dance in some of your posts.
Yeah.
Did you go take one of those fun dance classes, or did you just do it in your house? What would you advise us? Yeah.
For someone who is new in this, I would look up on YouTube somatic regulation tools or somatic shaking or somatic nervous system regulation tools and just follow along of those kinds of videos. Those are super helpful to help you get in your body and move through some energy. Simplest technique of all time is a one song dance party. Just put on a song, any type of song that matches the vibe of where you're at, and let your body feel the music and move with the feeling. If you feel sad, put on a sad song and let your body feel that sadness and move with that music. Music, I have found, for people who have a hard time connecting in with their emotions and connecting in with their body, music is the fastest route to get there.
And they should probably start with, "Let's talk about sex, baby." Okay.
We brought it full circle.
We did.
For the end of that.
No, I love it. And you're right. There are lots of great videos about somatic work too. So yeah, that's very important. Did you do any of the hypnotherapy work? I happen to be a rapid transformational therapist, and tell us a little bit about your experience in hypnotherapy. I want to share with my listeners, because if you offer some of that, I offer some of that. It's kind of neat stuff.
Yeah,
really, it can leapfrog you for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So when we're talking about the body, there's also a conversation going on behind the scenes that is the body is the subconscious as well. So those two things to me are synonymous. Body and subconscious are together. And hypnosis is a really powerful way to tap into both at the same time. So in my experience, the way I was taught hypnosis was really going into deep relaxation through rhythmic language to support the body and really relaxing and really going into a downregulated place where the subconscious can come open and online, and the body is then open to suggestion as well. So in that place of really deep relaxation, our mind is more open, our subconscious is open, and a really great hypnotherapist can give the subconscious suggestions that can help. If you've never been able to get to a place where you have positive dialogue inside, or you have a part of you that speaks kindly to yourself, a great hypnotherapist can put positive suggestions into your subconscious that can support you in feeling more of that on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and the version of the practice that I have includes the follow-on self-hypnosis with the recording for them to listen to on a regular basis. So it's literally doing what your therapist showed you, which was it's rewiring the brain. And
yes,
it is. I'm glad to hear you say that about the body and the subconscious being synonymous. I never really thought about it that way. That's really helpful for me. I like that.
Totally. There's so much information in here.
Yeah.
Like insane amount of information. And the only way that can be interpreted is through subconscious expression.
Yeah. I'm curious, your partner, how did you find your partner? There's a lot of my clients talk about not being able to relate at certain stages with their partners because they want to be all spiritual. Or, I mean, my husband too, he's kind of like, okay, yeah, he supports me, but he's not really interested in the conscious, coupling and the extent that I am. How did you attract a conscious coupler?
Well, I wore a T-shirt to a coffee meetup that said "Daddy is a state of mind." So
I love it.
that definitely helped. He saw that T-shirt and he was like, "Oh, are you into kink?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. Let's have some conversations." Are you?
There you go.
And it really blossomed from there because the way that I framed kink or the way that I had done kink was very conscious. It was lots of conversations, lots of awareness, always sober, like so much safety. And so if someone knows how to be in those conversations, they probably are also into conscious relationships. And and then it was just history from that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, conscious coupling and consciousness right now, a lot of people are afraid to go there. So let's just talk a little bit about what that is. What does it mean to be conscious? And for me, I try to talk to my clients and my friends and anybody who will listen. It's about creating the ability to observe oneself and create space around oneself so that you are having a dialogue kind of with your higher version of you that is that choice, right? So the space you create enables the ability to observe, assess, and then pick the judgment of the circumstance and apply that judgment or emotion or decision onto what you're observing very intentionally. I don't know. Did I miss anything? What do you think? Is that pretty summarizing consciousness?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the word that came to mind for me was choice. It is having the ability to choose instead of being in automatic response.
Yeah.
In automatic programming. It's giving you control and autonomy and choice, making more choices available.
You can't actually have the conversation with the body part or the piece of you that's anxious if you haven't paused long enough to observe what was happening in your body and then consciously choose to have the conversation. So it's almost like we're diagramming sentences in the 5th grade, which you're younger than me. So we used to do that. It was a waste of time. But the ability to think like that enables really beautiful lifestyles to be created and designed. So how are you currently designing your life and what are you still working on? I mean, I'm sure you're not finished, right? Oh, figured it out, had trauma, healed the trauma, having sex tomorrow at 3. So what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, now for me, it's about, just continuing to find the places inside myself where I'm still not totally accepting and loving and caring and applying love there over and over and over and over. Like there's so much in my body and in my history of all of that trauma that there are places inside of myself where I am still not accepting and loving. And so the entire locus of my work emotionally is always going to be how much more compassion can I give myself in that place where like, I really don't want to look at that, or I really don't care about that, or I really dislike that part of myself. So that's where, for me, the work gets to keep being. And then like what it looks like in my life is right now building a business that supports me building a family. So my partner and I, within the next couple of years, want to have some kids. And so the intentional design is like, okay, how do we make the most badass family? And like, how do I be like like the mom that I would want for myself?
Right.
Like, what does that look like? And how do I show up that way? And and that's like, yeah. So that's the exciting next evolution. And I'm sure that kids will just bring up all different places inside myself that need care.
Well, I thought that right when you were saying it, I had this vision, as I've often, when I think about healing, it's like this spiraling up, right? We continue, we heal, and then we have a kid, and then you have to heal all over again in that same area, just at a new level. So, well, yeah, you really did sign up for the masterclass, didn't you?
100%. I'm here for it. Totally. I want to be, when I'm like 100 years old, I want to be just an absolute ninja of life, just floating on a fucking joy cloud.
You and me both, baby. We are the crones, and I'm right ahead of you. So I'm going to do my best for you. I'm going to role model for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to do my best to make choices that serve me and love me. And I'm going to go practice that internal dialogue that you're talking about. And because I'm that anxious energy cortisol addict, and I'm not drinking coffee for nothing.
Yeah.
But that does have an effect. But real quick though, you talked about doing those conscious conversations, sober, alert, aware. Talk about your self-care practices, because this is a big piece of coaching work for me. When I do holistic work, a lot of times people are just interrupting and disrupting what they want because of the way they're caring for their bodies and their spirits. And talk to me about your practices.
Yeah, I think for me, what it looks like is moving my body in some way every single day, whether that's going to the gym or just going for walks outside, or one song dance parties, or shaking, or doing my somatic exercises. Like, my body needs to be moved, and like keep that and my energy up. Eating really healthy foods. So putting good nutrients, good quality food into my body, and seeing my care practitioners. Like, that's my top self-care practice is like twice a week I go see Dr. Rose, and she supports me and supports my body. Like, that's the way that I care for myself, is investing in that part of my care.
And we can't do it alone. We could, but definitely probably take a couple more lifetimes.
Yeah, totally.
So no, I'm glad that you shared that. And I have recently, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I'm like, I don't want to eat red meat right now. And there was so many thoughts in my head about that decision, but mainly it was my body. Just like, no. And I'll even look at it. Great. My husband loves a good grilled steak. And I'm like, yeah, that looks delicious, but no. And then not drinking. I'm choosing alternative drinks, that, ashwagandha, things like that. And it seems more natural, actually. It actually relaxes me to the point where I'm just more conscious. I'm just more present.
Yeah. I love that.
Presence is where I think, for people with low libidos or having challenges around their sexuality, I think it ultimately does come back down to presence.
Definitely.
What would you want to share before we wrap up? Because again, I want to talk for a week and a half, but
I know. I'm like, I got like 5 minutes left, and I got to get on a coaching session.
I need your last minute moments of wisdom here for our listeners.
What would I want to share
about your lust/love by design philosophies? What have we not discussed?
That it's constantly changing. Like, you're never going to arrive at a place where you're done figuring out who you are sexually. Like, it is going to look different at every part of your life. It's a constant growth edge that you can lean into. Like, you will always be evolving in that area. And so just if you're trying to compare yourself to who you were yesterday, it's an unfair comparison. Like, really be in the curiosity and discovery of who am I today? What do I want today? what works for my body today in this moment right now. And if you keep doing that forever, you're going to have an amazing sex life forever.
I love it. And what do you want to celebrate the most about you before we hang out?
Oh my gosh, I love my curiosity and constant desire to grow and learn. I love that about myself.
I love that about you too. And everybody, she threw her arms up in the air as she thought through that response. And of course, it was so natural and authentic. And thank you for talking all about sex with us. And I will be following you closely. Anything you want to put out there that you've launched or anything, we'll send them to your website.
Yeah.
Anything new?
Yeah. I made a new quiz today. It's amazing. It's called Why Don't You Crave Sex Anymore quiz. And it'll show you what of the 4 main causes of low libido you are and give you tips for what to do if that's you. So take the quiz. It's so fun. It's amazing. And I'll send that link to you as well, Nicoa, so you can put it in the show notes.
I will definitely do it. You really are a freaking powerhouse at helping low libido women create turn-on, pleasure, self-love, and freedom to have the sex lives of their dreams. And we're all off. Everybody, please, right now, go have sex with either yourself or someone you love. Okay, that's it, guys. We'll talk to you later. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much. Great.
Thanks for joining us for a caffeinated conversation. Subscribe to Coffee with Nicoa for more stories from people living a life by design. You can also find inspiration on Instagram. Just follow Coffee with Nicoa. And check out our website, coffeewithnicoa.com. And that's Nicoa, Nicoa. We look forward to talking with you soon, and enjoy your coffee between now and then.